Hey.
Hey.
Okay. All right. So this is Ricardo's first TGIK. Thank you, Ricardo.
Yeah, sure.
You got everything set up. Did you turn your screen? Can you get your screen going?
Yeah. Let me share my screen here, and we can go to the notes. Share screen. Okay. Yeah, so now we are live now. Thank you, Jay, for the invite. We have Steve here with us as well. Steve is one of the maintainers of Contour. Say hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. How y'all doing? This is my first TGIK as well. So, at least as someone as a guest.
Cool. Yeah. So for today, it's gonna. I hope it's gonna be a fun episode. It's my first TGIK as host as well. I've been in past here with Jay. We are gonna make some deep dive into Ingress layer 7 stuff, and I think this is gonna be fun actually, because I am one of the Ingress Nginx maintainers. Steve is one of the Contour maintainers. I have never messed up with Contour, so it's gonna be fun because I really wanna try to deploy Contour before trying to do things that I actually know, right? And hope that if we have time. Hey, Jay, how are you doing?
I just wanted to see whether you were able to get there. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Hey, hi, Steve. Cool. Hello, everyone.
All right.
So, hey, good evening. Good evening, Philip. Good evening, KR4.
How do you say Hugo Meyer? Hugo Meyer?
Hugo Meyer. Hugo Meyer. I don't know. From Germany. Yeah, cool. That's late in Germany. So thank you for being with us today. And then I hope that we've got some time and some to take a look into gateway API as well, and other layer 7 stuff, right? So before starting, let me just make things bigger. If someone thinks that we need some more fonts, increasing the size, just let me know. Ping Jay on YouTube and he can yell at me. Okay, cool. So first of all, the week in review, we have SIG Windows DevTools now has working CNI provider. So Jay, do you wanna talk a bit about that?
Yeah, we getting things networking fully functional in our SIG. So we have the SIG Windows DevTools repository. I think I've announced it before in TGIK, and it allows you to spin up a Kubernetes development environment from source, including the Windows kubelet and Windows HAProxy. And we've got now, we had Antria support, but there was a minor bug which was fixed by the Antria folks, and it's going to be in an upcoming release related to double NICs, because VirtualBox makes multiple NICs. But then we also had a similar issue with Calico, and my good friend Amim Gnabin just fixed that up and actually has an upstream PR into Calico so that you can run Windows, so you can run Calico's agent on an arbitrary NIC, which is kind of cool from an installation perspective. So we've got that. So if anybody wants to try Windows out from source with either Calico or Antria, now is really a good time to grab that repo and start banging away at it and testing it. It's a really good way to learn about Windows on Kubernetes.
All right, thank you, Jay. Hey, good evening, Raiko. The next one, I can tell a little bit. So Ingress Nginx has reached version 1.0.0 GA, and we are dropping right now the Ingress API version 1 beta 1. So we are gonna keep support for the next 6 months of the legacy Ingress if some bug or something like that happen. But then we are planning to drop support for legacy Ingress Nginx and just keep version 1.0.0. So please make sure that you all update your Kubernetes cluster to a version that supports Ingress Nginx version 1, and also to update your Ingress Nginx as well. And the next one is about Capin, that now has dual stack implementation for IP tables. So we've made an episode on past about Capin. If you want to take a look, I guess it was the 159, I guess. But Capin is an effort that SIG Network, which we are part, actually started with our friend Mikhail, and that's an effort that we are getting to improve or evolve the HAProxy implementation in Kubernetes. So instead of relying in the implementation from Kubernetes, you can rely on just a control plane and develop your own data plane, right? And now Capin got support for dual stack in IP tables backend. So do you wanna talk a bit about that as well, Jay? Or I just
That's it. That's all there is.
Okay.
It works. Yeah.
All right, cool. Say hello everyone. So Jay, we've got a question for you from Robert. How is Windows Kubernetes support state in the community right now? Is it very behind?
No, it's working. It's like, you can pick from multiple different CNI providers. We have CSI support through HAProxy. It supports Containerd now. Network policies work. Layer 7 stuff, I have never tested on it, but I know other people have used various layer 7 technology, obviously, with it. So those are usually the things that you'd think of as advanced support, right? And all that stuff works. So yeah, it works. Definitely try it out. That's why we made the dev tools, so that people could really jump in there and just run Vagrant up and have a running Windows Kubernetes cluster on their local machine. So yeah, if you get some time and you want to play with it, that's a really easy way to just get involved and start learning about how it all works. Thanks for asking, though.
Cool. Hey, hello, Alex from Smoky, not Northern California. So yeah, and yeah. So next one is a pull request that got into Kubernetes website, which improved the Kubernetes doc sites generation time in more than 80%. So it's a cool PR for folks that are not actually related to Go coding, but with using Yugo and static sites generation. And it's actually cool to try to understand that just one line improves so much the website generation. So if you want to take a look, just take a look. And also SIG Docs is looking for people to help. So if you are interested in documentation, if you are interested in tech writing, if you are interested in helping users and thinking actually that documentation is only the one thing that is allowed to be used in Kubernetes certification, please jump in SIG Docs in Kubernetes Slack, because they are looking for some help. All right. Hey, hello, Rahas. Rahas is here, Jay. All right. So then the last one for the week in review is a medium that I've put here. If someone want to take a look. So Lashy from Microsoft, he wrote a bit about the new Gatekeeper. For those that don't know what Gatekeeper is, so Gatekeeper is a validation webhook that you can write rules in Open Policy Agent for your Kubernetes cluster, and Gatekeeper now supports mutating as well. So this is a pretty common scenario when you have, for example, an image, and you wanna change that image for, instead of always using latest dash blah, right? Or you wanna take any any of the, you want to take any an image which have like run as user root, and instead of just block, you want to mutate to run as user 1001. So this is what mutation webhooks they do, and that's a really interesting article about how to use Gatekeeper and to do that. And a curious thing about that is that Gatekeeper actually choose not to use open policy agent for the mutation. So the Gatekeeper started just to be like an easier, to make it easier to use open policy agent in Kubernetes, but they are not using open policy agent for the mutation part. So it's pretty cool, and I highly recommend anyone that wanna take a look and understand how mutation and how validation works. It's Gatekeepers makes stuff much more easier, right? And I guess that's it for the week in review for my side. So let's start breaking things. Are you all up to break things?
Yeah, let's show them something.
Yeah. So Jay, do you want to draw something here?
Yeah, I could draw. We started this because Ricardo doesn't have an iPad. So, all right, we started doing a sort of like a little high level thingy. So, all right, where does in here, I'm a user and I'm accessing a pod, and my pod's downstream of here over here. So what happens? How do I get through Contour to here? Like normally, right? If I didn't have an Ingress controller, I would use something like a cloud to provision an external load balancer, right? And then I'd get an IP address through my cloud, and then that would get routed through my cloud to a node port, and that, normally that would go through a node port. Here, I'll draw one. Here's a node port, right? And then that would go through my node port, and then that goes to my container port, right? That's the sort of primitive way of thinking about how to direct traffic from an end user to a pod. So what happens when I start using Contour? How does that change?
Yes, that's going to be your service type load balancer. So that's like the classic way of doing this. Ingress controllers let you do this at layer 7, right? So instead of having, so what you described is you're going to have that over and over for every application in your cluster, right? Yep. So if you had 100 applications, you're going to end up with 100 different load balancers, 100 different node ports, a lot of holes in your cluster. So an Ingress controller lets you, and this is generically, this isn't Contour specific, but it runs at the layer 7 of the stack, right? So you can route application traffic, right? So now you can inspect the host name and the path and then take action on that. So now you can have one load balancer route traffic to that thing, and then that thing will do your routing and decide where should this go within your cluster. So what pod should it go to?
So I'm running Contour. Am I running it on the host network, or am I running it in the pod network? I'm running on the host network, right?
It depends. It depends on what you need to do.
How would you do it if you were me right now?
Yeah, so our examples out of the gate show you using them with a host port. So we bind 80 and 443 to the host. And that sometimes helps you get rid of different hops through the network stack of Kubernetes.
Okay.
But you can still use like node port or for that or even, right?
Yeah, a couple of things come into play.
Terminal.
Yeah, when you want to get traffic to to your proxy. In our case, it's Envoy for Contour. But there's ways you can route traffic to that local instance, and that's that external traffic policy. And there's ways you can use the cluster to route horizontally across different nodes. And again, it depends on where you have your proxies running and how often you have those configured. That's why we call them examples in Contour, because there's so many ways you could slice and dice this.
But the canonical way is host networked, right? That's like the usual first hello world for Contour, right?
Yeah, that's an easy out of the gate kind of thing.
And this is a daemon set, right? Okay, so for those that don't know, that's how you normally do this. You've got a daemon set and it's running on all your nodes. All right, cool. Can I so real quick, so it's sitting there. So now what? I'm an end user over here, and what do I do? Do I make an external load balancer and have that load balance everything to Contour, or do I do something else?
So Contour specifically, we use Envoy as our data path component. So all traffic is going to route through Envoy. So Contour itself is essentially just a configuration server, and its job is to send configuration to Envoy. So you're going to route all traffic through Envoy. Contour itself does not route any traffic or do any kind of data.
Okay, so if I'm trying to get this running and I don't know anything about any of this, what do I do? Do I download Envoy and install it, or what do I do?
So our examples will help set all this up for you.
Okay,
let's try it.
Yeah.
Why don't we try it?
Okay. We should
finish
try.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So just to be clear, I never use it on Envoy and Contour as well. So I will probably make something wrong. But yeah, so I am here on the site and I want to go to the get started. So why Contour? Quick start, yeah. So quick start, I like quick start. So, but I don't have kind installed. I have this. Where is my cluster? Here. I can use it here. Let me increase my screen. Ooh.
Oh, Pear is here. What's up, Pear? Pear, it's my friend.
Hey,
he's like this. What do you Pear? The Pear's from Kaloom. There's like the CTO over
Ibrahim.
there.
So I'm gonna skip everything here. I'm just gonna deploy. Should I do that?
Yeah, that's a good starting place. So we give you a couple ways you can spin up your cluster if you need to. They're not by any means you're not required to do it those way. They're just easy ways to get started if you don't have anything. But Ricardo, you already have what? As you said, yours is a kubeadmin cluster.
I have created. You mean I have created with kubeadm? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you can start from here. So you can just run that quick start. So in the Contour repo, there's a bunch of examples that we have in terms of RBAC permissions and service accounts and CRDs and services and all that stuff. What you just saw all got blasted through into your cluster.
Let's see if it's creating. Oh, I have a crash loop back here. Look at me, Jay.
I'm actually trying to get this running too. So I would use can I just use the vanilla Contour examples also? I'm trying to get this running on a Windows cluster while you do that. And I wouldn't do anything different, would I? What was the YAML you used, Ricardo?
Quick start. This one.
Quick start. Oh, okay.
So
Project
Steve told that we have some other manifest. So let me take a look.
Cool.
It's in Project Contour is the org.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can get it working.
And then Contour is our repo. Yeah.
So if I come to docs or examples,
go to examples.
Docs.
Examples has the YAML, and go to Contour. And it's not straightforward. The first directory there, yeah. So this essentially is the quick start. So the quick start is just we smash all together into one YAML file to make it easy. But Jay, this is what you can use if you're looking to have each piece in part customizable.
Are you on the VMware internal network, Ricardo?
No.
Okay,
Why?
I was going to say because Docker Hub, we can't pull from Docker Hub because of the rate limiting if we're on the internal VPN.
No, I am not. I'm not.
Cool.
So here, okay. So we have the deployment here, Jay. If you want to try to download through, yeah.
Okay. projectcontour.io/quick start. So what's your crash loop?
So while you do that in Windows, I'm gonna break some stuff here.
Okay.
So
did we come up?
All right. So where is Contour running? So I have this container creating here. I'm gonna wait a bit more. My internet is pretty slow.
I'm running mine too at the same time.
Yeah, so what you got with that quick start was Envoy runs as a daemon set. So every node in your cluster is going to run Envoy. Envoy scales typically very well with CPU threads. So if you ran like 100 envoys in one node, you're not going to get much better performance versus running just one. So that's why you get one per node. And then if you're running host ports, like we are in the example, this ensures that only one pod is going to have, those ports allocated.
So I'll, Pear is happy because it's Friday. Allah says, so where is Where would a WAF sit in this system?
So we don't have, I think there's an open issue in Contour to support WAF. You need like a different Envoy build to get that working.
What's WAF? I don't even know what it is. Web Application Firewall?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my cluster is broken, so I'm gonna just create a kind cluster here.
Let me see if mine gets maybe mine will come up. Hold on. Oh yeah, no, mine's not up yet either. kubectl describe pod.
Kind create cluster. This is gonna happen. Come on.
Yeah. Setup. My cluster's broken too, Ricardo. I'm getting a chown error, and I've never seen that before. Like, what's going on today?
It's Friday.
Is kube-api-access QKGLW? Is that some kind of contour thing? Why would my kubelet is not able to start this contour pod, and it is running other pods.
Is it running on Windows?
It's running on Linux.
Oh, okay. That's exactly. None of it's not going to run on Windows. Envoy should work, but yeah.
Envoy's not running either, actually.
Okay.
On neither Contour nor Envoy, but oh man, this is going to be an interesting day for us, Ricardo.
Yeah.
You want to see? Can I share my screen while you look at while you try to work yours out?
Yeah.
Here, add me.
Let me add you.
Check mine out. Poor Steve. This is like okay, here we go. kubectl. Let me see. See, look at this. I've never seen this error before. I've never seen this. It's like kube API access. It's like something is happening when it's coming up and it's trying to the kubelet. Oh wait, no, this might be a Windows specific thing. Wait,
Contour cert. Yeah. So the other thing is we auto generate self-signed certs because Contour and Envoy don't run in the same pod. They run separate. So to secure that traffic between them, we create our own self-signed certs. Folks can override those if they want, but it looks like that error is that Contour cert error is what you're getting.
I hope it's not. It could be Windows related, but it shouldn't be. Secret. Oh, I see. So the problem is that the cert isn't coming up. So my problem was Windows specific because my Contour cert gen tried to come up on a Windows node, right? And so kubectl delete, because I don't have my Windows nodes tainted. So I'm going to delete my Contour.
The other thing that might be we recently just did a patch to fix some security things in Envoy, and I'm wondering if that might cause an issue as well. So we run the Envoy admin page as a Unix domain socket. Because there was an exploit with external name services. So folks use external name services in an Ingress controller. It allows you to reference any DNS name. And Contour supported that. And someone actually found an issue where if you made your external name localhost, you could then get to the admin webpage running on localhost in the pod. So then you could do nasty things. So Envoy has this admin webpage built into it, which lets you see its configuration, like clusters and things. It also lets you quit Envoy and shut it down through that web page. So that could be. So we just actually re-engineered that so that you can't get to those now. So you can't talk over the socket now. So
funny because we've got a vulnerability on Ingress Nginx in past where we program the Lua backends with a socket as well, right? So we have to not rely on dynamic reloads. Nginx actually the Go program sends the endpoint to a Lua socket saying, hey, when someone tries to reach you, it's going to be here. And some folks they could use external names from services to reach there, right? So we've got to disable that. But yeah, cool. There is a cool. Hold on, Jay. While you do that there is a cool discussion happening in the chat about web application firewall, and that I won't go into the discussion of why or like how it helps with PCI or something like that, because I don't know I even don't know about that. But there is a cool project of web application firewall, a new one, which is called Curiefense. I don't know. Have you seen that, Steve? Curiefense.
No, what's it?
It's
Do you have a link to it?
It's incubating in CNCF. Let me open here, and I'm gonna put in the notes as well. So this is a sandbox project, which is actually based in Envoy as well. But that's a web application firewall. So that's Jay. I'm gonna remove Jay's screen.
You can take it away. I can't figure out why this cert gen refuses to not run. It refuses to not run except on the Windows node on my cluster, and I have no idea why.
I'm not gonna make any jokes about Windows with you because I know that you get mad at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Just kidding. Do it. We have this Curiefense, which is a CNCF sandbox project for web application firewall, for distributed web application firewall, and it's based on Envoy, right? So that's a bunch of Lua scripts, as far as I remember, that's based on Envoy. So if you want to take a look, folks, we've been discussing about using this in Ingress and Nginx. I know that it already supports HAProxy, and we can actually take a look into Contour as well, if this is something that someone wanna take a look, right? But yeah, this is mostly what I have to tell you about this web application firewall and the discussion. And also, I might be old school, but I really still like mod security, how it works.
We can't see anything, Ricardo.
Strange. You can't see my screen?
No, we just see black right now. At least on my side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me. Oh, sorry, folks. Let me see again. Does this work right now?
There you go. That's good now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to take a look into the web application firewall thing, just take a look into Curiefense, okay? And I'm gonna put the link for this one on the meeting notes as well. Folks, we have some folks actually asking us to go back to the Ingress thing. So let me add this right here so I won't forget about Curiefense. And let's go back to the Contour stuff. So I have deployed Contour here, right? So I now have a kind cluster. I have just dropped it off my kubeadm cluster because I have broken it, and I have Contour here. So what should I do next? Maybe create an Ingress object and see what happens inside it.
Yeah,
I wanna. Yeah. Go ahead.
No. So at this point, Contour's up and running and Envoy's running. So Contour won't start doing anything until you actually give it something to serve. Yeah. So.
Okay. Why do I have two Contours and just one Envoy? Because I have one node and like two control planes. Is this the reason?
Yeah, you only have one node, so you only get one Envoy. So the name set only runs once. Again, by default, we run two Contours. Each instance of Contour can serve traffic to any Envoy. But they'll do leader election so that only one Contour will actually write status back to the API server. So in the event that say one Contour would go down, then you'd have another one that's ready with a hot cache of Envoy config to then serve the other envoys.
Okay, got it. So if I do something like kubectl create, because I'm too lazy, okay, so I'm gonna do kubectl create ingress. I can't remember the syntax. My ingress one. Should I pass some ingress class, or it listens to any ingress class, or should I try?
Right now, Contour is going to listen to any ingress objects. So you don't have to have a class.
Okay,
but
cool.
We can do that. Yeah. So ingress class for folks, it's a way to have multiple controllers run on a cluster. So you can have Nginx and HAProxy and Contour all run on the same cluster at the same time, but separate them out with this class, and it just gives it an ID that you can run against. Ingress v1 now has that baked into the spec, which before we had to use annotations.
Cool.
There's some
So-
questions here about folks from getting started. I'm not sure if you want to keep going or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I go forward?
Yeah, go ahead.
Full equals to.
By the way, I'm filing an issue on Contour right now to move off of docker.io for your default container places.
PR is welcome.
Okay, so I have created an Ingress object, but I forgot actually to run something else, I guess Quard or some service, right? So maybe I should use this thing
Yeah,
just
that
to
would
have
give you
something.
something to route traffic to. Yeah.
Okay, so now I have the service Quard and the deployment and the object. Oh, it creates the object. Cool. So kubectl get ingress Quard -o YAML. All right. So what does this do? Okay, so this is a catch-all for anything.
Yeah.
So if ctl get service
We
and
should have.
Contour is running in some service or something like that.
Yeah, so you've got to send traffic to Envoy somehow. So I was just going to say we should have set up your kind cluster to expose your port 80 on your host machine to port 80 in the container. But so you're gonna have to port forward to get to it.
Yeah, like in my picture,
Oh.
you weren't drawing a tick. I drew that picture for a reason, Ricardo.
Sorry,
I
Jay.
thought you were watching me draw that picture.
I was giving you something to do other than yell at me and Steve. But if okay, so if
But you
I
can't.
do,
You can just port forward for now, or we could destroy it all and recreate it. But I don't know what you want to do.
yeah, let's just port forward.
Yeah.
Port forward -n. So I should port forward to Envoy, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't remember how to do that. I'm really lazy.
Right, just put 80 at the end. Yeah.
80? Okay. I need to put a local port as something like 8080.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. So if I do something now like 127.0.0.1,
That's probably not going to work.
come on. Oh,
So
I'm on a different machine.
oh, that's really not going to work then. Yeah. You're going to have to pass in the host name, right? So I'm always going to route based on the host name you gave it, which I forget what the example is. Oh, it doesn't have anything. It's a wild card. So yeah, maybe that will work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's working. So I can try. Oh, it's forwarding this one. Let me do this a little bit better. So I can pass my local address, local port, remote port, address. Okay. Hold on, folks, because all right. So now we can have something like this. No? Oh, come on.
We have to do the IP of the machine, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
You did it.
So I wanna improve this Ingress object and maybe add some more things like this server may expose. Be careful. Oh, I'm sharing my screen with you with something that exposes sensitive information. Thank you, folks. Yeah. So so I wanna maybe add a virtual host or something like that, and then start looking into the Envoy configuration. So let me. I wanna really try to do that. So kubectl get service. Right. So if I do something like create ingress, and I wanna say that this ingress is like Ricardo ingress rule equals to Ricardo equals
Ricardo,
to.
that's you wrote that feature. Are you like trying to show off your feature that you wrote in kubectl?
No, I can't remember how it works, Jay. Really, I'm not kidding. I wrote
There
that,
we
but I
go.
can't remember.
And you don't know how to use it either. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. And I want to delete the other ingress. qctl delete ingress. Okay, so I have deleted this one. What happens right now? It gives me like a 404, something like that.
Yeah, I think Envoy is saying, yeah, there's no config.
Okay, so I should do something like curl resolve. Can't remember what's the IAM help grep resolve. Come on. Don't I have the...
What do you want to do? Just pass the host?
Help me, Jay. Yeah.
I don't know what happened. What I was just sending a screenshot
Resolve.
to my wife
Yeah.
because she's like texting me, and I was like, "I'm doing TGIK. Stop telling me about your flight." What? Okay. What do you? What's going on? What are you doing?
Don't need your help anymore, Jay. Thank you.
It's too late. Okay.
Port refused. Oh, 8080?
It's not listening on there. Yeah. It's 8080 on the outside.
Works. Cool. Yeah, it works right now.
Okay,
Right.
so for folks that don't know what's going on, he's running Card, which is like some kind of demo Kubernetes app, and then he's got port 80. He's got his port. He's exposed port 80 inside of his cluster to the host, and then he's accessing Contour, which is running inside of his nodes, inside of his cluster on port 80, and so 80 is getting forwarded to 80, and then he's just used kubectl, which is something most people probably don't know, is that you can actually use a command line to create a simple ingress rule. So he's kubectl create ingress to create an ingress rule so that when he tries to go to show me the curl command again.
The kubectl or the
Yeah,
curl?
the curl.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he's set
up. Yeah, so he set up a whatever. What do you call it? What do you call that? A C name or a name? What do you call that?
That's the you mean the vhost, the host name here?
Yeah, ricardo.foo.com. So he set up that.
Yeah.
That's what you call that, a vhost record inside of Contour. Is that what you call that, a virtual host? What's the Contour word for that?
Yeah, we call it a vhost. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also pass a host header, and Envoy would route that in terms because we're just playing.
And if you are using TLS, it's called SNI, which is server name. I don't know what the I means, but yeah, it extracts from the TLS header as well. Cool. So I wanna take a look into how actually this is inside Contour.
Yeah, and Robert asked that question earlier, like, hey, what's the relationship between Contour and Envoy? This digs into this right here, yeah. So this is good.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so the example that Ricardo applied, that YAML file deployed these things. So you had an Envoy daemon set, and you have Contour running as a deployment. Contour, what it does is it's watching for things in the cluster, things like secrets, ingress objects, services, endpoints, all that kind of stuff that's interesting. And then what it does is it builds a configuration for Envoy, and then it passes that configuration down to Envoy. Now, Envoy, we could dig into it too if you want to see it, but Envoy has this thing called a bootstrap config. And essentially what that does is that tells Envoy to go look for Contour. Because all Contour does is it provides configuration for Envoy dynamically, and we call that XDS. So Contour is the XDS or like control plane for Envoy. So when Envoy spins up, it says, hey, go find Contour. And then Contour's job is to send down updates for Envoy configuration. So what happened was when Ricardo created that Ingress object and he created the Qwerty service, all of those things fired events to Contour. Contour saw those happen, and then it generated a config and passed that down to Envoy, and that's how it got routing. So if you want, we could dig into the Envoy routing if you want to see how that looks.
I want to do.
Yeah. So
I like looking at those stuff.
Yeah, so every Envoy has that admin page. So I think we're running on 118.1, I'm assuming. So this has the patch. So we're going to have to, I can send you the docs for it. But if you go ahead and port forward to Envoy on port 9001.
I mean, so what is the thing that Envoy does that makes it special?
It's routing all the traffic for you. So when it saw that request come in for, was it ricardo.foo.com? It looked in its routing table and it was able to route that to the right thing and turn.
How is that any different than like what, you already have things like IP tables and NetSH on Windows, IPVS and all that. It's like, what's the difference between Envoy and those things?
It's just how it's routing, I guess. You can do it at a user level. Users can manage this themselves now.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So IP tables deals with the layer 4, right, Jay? So you have a source and a destination, and a source port and a destination port. So IP tables does the routing, but it doesn't know what you have inside the packet. So Envoy, Nginx, HAProxy, they actually when we did that when we did that call to ricardo.foo.com, IP tables wouldn't be aware of that, because you could be pointing to the same machine, to the same IP, but you want to route to different places, for example, right? And so in Envoy, that packet it gets open, and you know, for example, for which port to send. So what was the header, which port to send, or maybe if there was some cookie saying that you should direct to server A or to server B or to endpoint A or to endpoint B. So this is the main difference between the Envoy, Nginx, HAProxy, and like using IP tables or IPVS or something like that. You are working on different layers of the network.
Okay. It's just yeah, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So Alex sent to us that SNI is server naming indication. So thank you, Alex, for this information. Cool. All right. So.
Oh, Amim's here.
Hey, Amim. Okay. So let me open the documentation that you've sent to me.
I always felt, the reason I asked is I always feel like Nginx feels like layer 7, but I feel like Envoy is like lower level than that. That's just some fiction that I made up in my head. Like Envoy is not capable of doing lower level load balancing. I thought it was, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Envoy can do like L4 and UDP routing and stuff. But you're not going to get all the fancy things you would get with like a full load balancer, like managing IP addresses and all that sort of stuff. But so you could do that.
You could replace something like IP tables with Envoy,
or
for certain use cases, like for example in the KubeProxy.
I think so.
So do we need to make an Envoy backend to Kuping now, Ricardo?
We can do.
Yeah.
Or HAProxy, we can do it with both.
Yeah.
How does that sound to you, Jay? I think that's what actually Envoy is used by ECIO as well, right? And I don't know if the lower path of ECIO just uses like Envoy as IP tables or something like that. But
I don't think Per is not happy with this idea.
Okay. So let's take a look into this one. kubectl blah.
So essentially what we're going to do here is just need to port forward to Envoy on 9001. And then I have the list of endpoints that we exposed. So before I mentioned that like CV that came out, the actual Envoy webpage has a lot more than just these, but these are the read-only ones. So essentially, if you now deploy Contour and Envoy in your cluster, we'll still have these exposed over localhost. And if someone would exploit it with external names, then they still couldn't do anything malicious, short of seeing stuff in your configuration.
And we have received that vulnerability. It was on a Friday, right?
There's been a couple things all over the place.
Yeah.
I know Envoy just patched a couple CVs as well that came out last week.
So, Jay, we've got a question for you and Per. How about SCTP routing
Oh gosh.
Because I'm kidding, but hey, Alex, we were discussing about that earlier today, and this is why I made the joke to Jay. But I don't know. I am not sure, because one thing that we've been discussing is that we are not sure about the SCTP use case, right? So feel free to join us also in Caping and SIG Network, and maybe.
You should have come to Caping today, and you should have heard Per rant about SCTP and how horrible of an idea it is to do on Kubernetes. I didn't fully understand it, but Per can talk to you about this, and so can Lars in SIG Network on Slack. Evidently, SCTP makes basically no sense on Kubernetes. It seems to be what everybody's saying, and I guess nobody even knows why it's GA because nobody uses it, and I don't fully understand why, but I guess it's because of the fact that like there's not really much value in having multiple SCTP backends for the same service.
But this is something that we are curious about, because it's a really specific use case, right? Okay.
Yeah, I guess telco companies use it, but the question is, why do they use it on Kubernetes? I think is the question. We can give him his. If you want to join, we should bring Per into the stream in a little bit. Ricardo, once you finish this, and Per, if you're around, then I can give you a stream link and you can join us.
Yeah. So with that comment, I've got this access. What exactly is here, Steve? So it's like there is an ID here and a random ID and the priorities. So is this a configuration, or is this like a status or something like that?
Yeah, so these are clusters in Envoy, and clusters kind of equate to services in Kubernetes. At least that's what Contour does with them. So you'll see here, so you've got the default, that's a namespace, and then QWERTY, that's the name of the service. It runs on port 80, and then there's like a hash. So essentially, you could deploy the same app a bunch of times. So the hash makes them unique within our configuration, because there's different things we could apply in terms of like health checks and weighting and that sort of stuff, and across different Ingress objects. So what you'll end up having here is every service that's referenced from an Ingress object is going to end up in this configuration. So this is what Contour streamed down to Envoy through that XDS connection. And you'll see things about this, like the active connections and total connections and failures and that sort of stuff. These are just clusters. If you go to like /listeners, you'll see the listeners that we opened up in Envoy. Yeah, so there's the 3 listeners. So by default, you got your 8080, which is your insecure one. There's a stats one, and then you can see the Envoy one we're listening to now on 9001. You can also see, so that page I sent you gives you all of the debug endpoints, which are interesting. There's a go to config_dump. That's the more interesting one. So if you take off listeners, yeah, that fourth one down. Do the config dump. That one's probably the most interesting one.
Which one? Config dump?
Yeah, do that one.
Okay.
So this one will show you like all the actual routes and bits that we programmed Envoy with. So if you're having trouble, or we're having trouble, adding in a feature to Contour or something, this is what we'll dig into. So if you scroll past a lot of this stuff, you'll see shows you metadata about what version you're running of Envoy and what filters and stuff are installed.
So Envoy works already with Quick, with HTTP 3?
I believe, yeah, they added that, yeah.
Okay, but Contour doesn't yet, right?
No, it doesn't. Nope.
Okay. PRs are always welcome, right? I can try that.
Yeah, it needs some discussion
cool.
of how we integrate that. Yeah. So if you scroll past a lot of this stuff, this is just all of the extensions that exist or that are enabled in Envoy. You can build these in and turn these off dynamically, sort of. And then we get down to some things. So there's 2 things in Envoy that are interesting. So there's static things and there's dynamic things. So static things come from that bootstrap config we talked about. So you'll see here we have a static entry for Contour, right? And this was when we told Envoy to go look for Contour for its configuration, we essentially created a cluster in Envoy which said, hey, go find Contour at this address called Contour, which is the DNS entry for the service. And that's how Envoy goes and finds Contour for its configuration. And then below that, you'll see dynamic resources. So you'll see LDS and CDS. So there's listeners and clusters. And then from there, everything else gets streamed down dynamically. So there should be a route for your ricardo.foo.com that got spun up. Yeah.
I can use the Control F.
Yeah, it's probably down a lot further. Yeah, usually it's towards the end.
Here. Yeah.
There you go.
Last line.
There you go. So virtual host. So Sub-Zero is ricardo.foo.com. You'll see there's a route, and the route should point to a match and a route. So there's slash, and then there's the cluster we talked about. So that default QWERTY 80 we saw on the previous screen with all the clusters.
And where is this here in dump?
Yeah, what is that?
That's the name of the cluster in Envoy that Contour programmed Envoy with. So basically, Envoy is looking at, or Contour looks at all the services in your cluster, right? And then it goes and finds all of the endpoints. And then it adds all of the endpoints to a thing called EDS, which is like the endpoint discovery service, the EDS. And then we feed those into Envoy, and then we say, hey, route to this cluster. So essentially, then we tell Envoy, here's a set of endpoints you can use the route to, which are sitting behind that default /QWERTY/80/hash. And that's how we get traffic to endpoints. So Ingress controllers simply don't route to services, they route to endpoints directly. And that's how we can do different kinds of load balancing strategies to get traffic to these different endpoints.
So when Envoy manages its quorum and its cluster and all that, when it manages metadata for its cluster, is it Kubernetes native, or does it have its own underlying like consensus implementation?
Envoy has no idea it's running in Kubernetes.
It's completely okay.
Yeah, Contour is doing all the work for the actual integration. So if you want to, so so we program the cluster name to have Kubernetes specifics in it just to make things easier to like debug and realize. Because those names also
there's shared state between the Contour, between the Envoy routers, right? Isn't there? Don't they have to like have some kind of? How do they talk to each other, or how do they share data with each other?
They don't.
There's nothing shared.
No, all they do is they spin up and they talk to their XDS server, which in this case is Contour. So Contour will stream its config down, and then it just routes. So
Contour, it's a push model or it's a pull? I kind of blanked out during the XDS part.
That's fine. So there's a gRPC connection between Contour and Envoy,
So Contour pushes config directly to Envoy instances, one at a time. Yeah. It's not a pull thing. Envoy isn't watching Contour on an endpoint.
No, they're connected. Yeah, I mean, Envoy spins up and creates that gRPC connection, and then everything gets pushed down to it. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what happens if like?
But Envoy doesn't have to tell anything to the server. It's the server that talks to Envoy. Right. The connection is this way, not that way.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think in my head. Yeah.
I mean, there's always some weird rule that gets broken, right? Like even in Kubernetes, there's that rule that nothing talks to anything except sometimes the API server talks to the kubelet when it needs to get logs. Otherwise, never, right? So, but in general, that's probably what it is. Okay.
Yeah. Contour builds its configuration, and then when that changes, it streams that down to Envoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, Contour uses what Envoy calls the state of the world. So it streams the whole entire set every time. We're looking at adding there's a Delta API as well, which just would do the diff.
A meme is asking, you can make bubbles on these, Ricardo. You can click on the questions so that people on YouTube can see it. Anyways, a meme is asking, does Contour support Envoy filter additions like Istio Envoy filter CRDs?
No, we don't do it dynamically, no. Sorry. There were some discussions about doing filter
just
things.
say it, that's it. No, we don't do it.
We don't right now. Yeah. But open an issue, we'll chat about it. I know some folks who compile Envoy to remove filters, because like in theory, there's a bunch of filters that are installed that could create a security risk for you in a different kind of environment. So you can actually compile Envoy and disable a bunch of things. So at the top of that screen, Ricardo, there was a whole list of filters. Like the quick filter was installed, and rate limiting, and stuff that you may not even care about, like MongoDB is in there and WASM things, Zookeeper. Yeah. So if
right.
you can actually recompile Envoy and remove them, and then run. So there's a page we have in Contour which shows you the things that we actually need. need to be there to actually have Contour work.
So why do they have these? Just to make it easy for people to run popular applications?
Yeah, they're like extension points. So if you want to,
Okay.
send traffic to Mongo or MySQL or doing rate limiting and that sort of things, you can enable these filters and they help extend Envoy.
I mean, what is it? It's just a port. Why do you need an extension? Just a thing to.
You can use the information from the header. Remember that we are talking about layer 7.
Oh,
so what if you want? What if you want to like block a MongoDB query, a specific MongoDB query? Layer 7 can understand that, right? So you can, for example, wanna talk, Steve?
Yeah. So some of these will give, like the connection manager there gives you L7, right? The HTTP connection manager. So Envoy is going to receive, an L3, L4 connection, and then you apply this filter, which turns that into an L7 thing, and then filters below that can then use that as an L7 connection.
So there's MySQL specific. So that's like compiled into Contour, or is that a?
No, this is Envoy here. This is only Envoy.
I'm sorry, Envoy.
Yeah.
Is that compiled into Envoy? So like
the
MySQL contributors go in there and they make a patch and they say, I want to add this logic that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They're all things. You can write your own too. You can add your own in there, but you'd have to compile them in. Yeah. You can also extend it through Lua, and then you can also do some WAS and things.
That was the Lua stuff. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So you can write custom Lua things and add that in there. Contour doesn't do that today. Again, there's an open issue for that we can chat about.
I don't think Pear likes that idea either.
Yeah. You can do very, very bad things, and you can, break things.
Oh, I like breaking things.
Yeah.
I'm not paid for that, but I like breaking things.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanna. So we've got this working, and I could see that. I think that it would be interesting for us, instead of jumping into Ingress, Nginx, or HAProxy. I can do that as a parallel, but I wanna really take a look into maybe Gateway API working, because as this is really something really new for layer 7 routing, maybe should be it's going to be interesting for me as well. I need to implement that on Ingress Nginx. So instead of reading all of the documentations, I just want to go through and see how Steve did and copy probably to Ingress Nginx. So I'm just kidding, but I'm really curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gateway API. I don't know if you want to go to the root of that.
Let me open the site here.
Yeah, so this is the root. So Gateway API started out as a thing called Service API, and the idea was to kind of replace. It started out as how to do Ingress v2, and it turned into like, let's replace services and think about how you can manage services. So if you go to the SIG group for this, they'll have a better explanation of some of what this stuff is. But essentially, there's this idea of gateways now, and that's why it's called Gateway API now. And so this is sort of a way now that you can route traffic into your cluster using L4 and L3 in different ways you can describe, right? So this is going to cover all of it, not just Ingress.
Go ahead.
So this is the V1 beta one. Literally last night they released the V1 Alpha 2, which you can see the little warning down there, which is a breaking change for folks. So right now Contour supports V1 Alpha 1. Now that V1 Alpha 2 is in a release candidate, we'll go try and support that. But in terms of Contour and how this works is and I'm going to look at code, but Contour supports Ingress, and it supports our own CRD, which we call HTTP proxy, and we support Gateway API as well. So what happens is when traffic comes in, we said Contour watches the cluster for, services and endpoints, that sort of stuff. It also watches for these gateway objects if they exist in the cluster, and if they're there, it'll build ingress information off of that. So Contour builds this thing in memory called a DAG, or a directed acyclic graph. So we build this graph in memory, and then we walk that graph and generate Envoy config out of it. So essentially, any Ingress configuration item, whether it be Ingress or our CRD or Gateway API, gets shoved into this like middle layer, and then we walk that graph to then output Envoy config. And that's how we can support all these different types without having to rewrite, Contour over and over and over and over.
Cool.
So we just add a new processor to the list and then go. Yeah.
And how can I deploy this? Just like deploy the CRDs?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do it. We have a quick start for this if that helps.
Quick start. I like quick starts.
Yeah, so go back to the quick start plans. At the top, I think there's a quick start or getting started. I'm sorry, it's a guide. Go to the guide.
Guide.
Yeah. And at the bottom there's a using Gateway API
Gateway
with Contour.
API.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's a couple ways to do this. You can do this with Contour, or you can use an operator. The operator is an alpha thing. So I would just stick with this for now. This is probably easier, but we have another quick start, which has all of the bits in there for you. And we can dig into that too. So essentially this quick start is going to give you what you have running now, you know, a namespace with Envoy and Contour and stuff, but it's also going to deploy those Gateway API CRDs. As you're familiar with, Ingress before is baked into the API server. So an upgrade to a new Kubernetes version would upgrade your Ingress. Now, because they're CRDs, you can kind of make those more independent, which is nice.
Cool. So if I may I just apply this over my latest Contour deploy, or I should? Okay.
No,
there is a question for you about plans for Contour to support UDP. Yeah,
right now there aren't. There's an issue. Again, there's always an issue for everything, right? It's come up. I know with Quick, it's come up as well because you need that UDP to do that, to implement Quick. So I'll see if we can go find that issue and you can comment on that. But right now, today, Contour's focused on a layer 7 type proxy. Getting into TCP and UDP adds some things that you need more around the project. And right now, we're just focused on layer 7. But there is an issue. It's not a no. What is it? No is forever, but or no, yes is forever, and no is not right now. How's that saying go? I forget.
Yeah, no is temporary. Yes is forever.
Right, there you go. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's kind of where we are with that. So go ahead and run that again. Yeah. So you had to hit the thing where the CRD wasn't ready in the API server yet. Yeah. So what you have now is you have Contour still there. Now you have the Gateway API CRDs installed. You can see those there in the middle. And then you also got a gateway class and a gateway. Gateway API is based around this idea of you have a gateway class, which describes kind of what you're trying to deploy, and then a gateway which implements that class.
So gateway class is not namespaced, right? It's just
it's cluster scoped, yeah.
It's the same as Ingress class. So if I do something like that, I'm gonna see the. Oh, okay. So the structure is almost the same of the Ingress class, right?
Yeah. You can apply it in here. It's in the spec, but there's a way you can apply configuration to this. So you could say, hey, this Ingress class. If you actually go to this docs, do you have that website open? It's very persona based. Is the idea behind it?
The
Gateway API webpage.
Where is it? I keep losing things here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So there's these different personas. So the infrastructure provider. So in your gateway class, you could say, hey, this is an external type gateway, which has certain specifics about, AWS or Google or Azure or whatever you're deploying it into. And then the gateway actually implements that. So it actually is the thing that routes the traffic. And then from there, you actually have routes. So you can have, HTTP routes, you can have TLS routes, you can have TCP routes, that sort of thing. Yeah. And then you have services behind that, which where the where things route to.
That deployment created the gateway class and the gateway, right? So I've seen here, and I want to see the gateway right now, because I am just curious about what's inside this.
Yeah.
So the gateway one is cluster scoped as well.
No, gateways are namespace scoped.
So I should do something like.
It's probably in Project Contour. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Come on.
It's called Contour, I think. Yeah, not an example.
Yeah.
There you go.
Why is false the status? Waiting for the controller.
I think we have to restart Contour, and I can explain why. But yeah. So Gateway API now has these statuses, which are great, right? And Ingress, as you know, Ricardo, like you don't have any status feedback to users. So when something's wrong, you're typically tailing logs of your controller. Now there's the status condition, which lets you get feedback. So right now this is saying, hey, someone's generated this gateway, but no one's picked it up. No one said, hey, I'm going to own this and manage it.
Okay.
Is where we are. And the reason for that is right now Contour needs restarted because we applied a new configuration behind the scenes, and Contour needs to get restarted to like apply that config.
Okay, so let me restart it.
So just delete, yeah, just delete contours. You can do dash L, and then that's fine too.
I didn't want it to delete the Envoy
Right.
one. I don't want my users to lose the traffic.
Yeah. Sweet.
All right.
And once those come up, so there's two things today that this uses. There's a config in our file which tells us, hey, what gateway class is this Contour going to own? So it's kind of like using an Ingress class. And then the second thing is Contour is not going to enable gateway APIs unless the CRDs exist in the cluster. So when it started originally, those CRDs did not exist. So it didn't start any of the controllers because it would error out looking for those CRDs. So now that they're there, it'll start watching for those as well. It spun up the informers for those CRDs. So
now, yay, cool.
Yep. So now that, so Contour says, hey, I can process this stuff. Now it took ownership of it. So you'll see here these reason codes and stuff. So it's valid. Status is true and type is ready. So Contour owns it now.
So let's create an HTTP route. So the specification here, okay, that's persona related, and in this case, when that persona, because this is namespaced, it says that the cluster operator, but it can be, for example, like the namespace owner, which is not like the application developer, for example. Like, can I say, okay, yeah. So I wouldn't allow an application developer to deploy a specific application without like being passed through like the security folks or like going through a pipeline, right?
Yeah, I think everyone's going to manage this differently. We've heard from different folks in terms of, the different ways they want to use this. But yeah, in the V1 Alpha 2, some of the bindings are different. And we can see that here of how you bind routes to gateways. And in the new version, it sort of flips on its head, and it's different for some different reasons. Because your gateway now doesn't have to live in the same namespace as your Ingress objects.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they can be apart. Yeah. So like Contour
so
Contour has our own CRD, which does the same kind of idea, but this can work the same way. So you could have your gateways live in like some admin namespace, and your routes live somewhere else.
Okay, so what happens if I create something like? Okay, got it. So here you are not specifying which. Wait, you are specifying like match labels app equals to quad, but this is from the deployment. This is from the example, right? This is not from like specifically. If I wanna create like a gateway and say, hey, whatever HTTP route you put here, you are gonna watch this works if I remove the selector, or no?
Yeah, so this is this bit that's like different now, I think. So in the V1 Alpha 2, which just came out last night.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the binding. This is saying, hey, this gateway is only going to bind to HTTP routes in that group from the same namespace, matching those selectors. But we could change that. We could make it all namespaces. Or now in the new version, there's a two-way binding where you've got the route is actually going to say, hey, I want to bind to a specific gateway. So it's going to be the reverse. Yeah.
I don't know. I've sent to the Ingress Nginx developers about this TGIK. I don't know if someone is watching, but please take notes because I don't want to read the documentation again, folks. I just want you to help me implement this. All right. So
there's an example. Yeah, you could use.
But this needs to be in the project Contour namespace because the selector here says that the namespace is from the same, right?
It's interesting that you still have the app QWERTY on there for the labels. I thought I took that out.
I think this is from the example.
It is. I thought I took it out. I updated these last night, so I was wondering. It's interesting you still have those.
Let's see.
We can just create it and then figure it out. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Forgot the namespace.
Yeah.
Wait, so I have a question about the API server on this. So how do the CRDs for the new gateway get installed?
You deploy them. someone or something deploys them. Yeah.
Okay. You don't get them for free.
No, they're not. They're not part of the API server. Yeah.
So right now, when Contour bootstraps, it creates those CRDs for you.
With the examples, they do. Yeah. So when Ricardo did that apply of that gateway example,
and if somebody wanted to install those on their own, they would what? Just pull them down from Kubernetes SIG / Ingress v2 or something.
Yeah, it's on the Gateway API webpage. They have examples of how to do that. Yeah.
Let me make this full screen, Jay, because I want to contour gateway. So this is like it generates for something here, and you have the CRDs right here. I expect. Yeah, here. That's X networking. Yeah, I can't remember. Here. So they have generated for us in the deployment. Cool.
Yep, and then I put in the chat, Ricardo, there's the link to that, to the docs and how you do that.
Well, let me send.
I could put it in the notes, I guess, or I don't know where.
Yeah. And I'm gonna put here. Where is the notes? It's right here. All right. Cool. Amazing. So now we have this, and this is the configuration that I've grabbed from here, which says that I am adding a name called local.project.contour.io, which matches the prefix to the service name Quard on port 80. But I don't have a Quard running on this namespace, do I? It's running on the default one.
I don't remember.
Let's see. So Quard is running on the default.
Yeah.
So if I try to do something like --resolve, what was the name of that thing?
That was local.projectcontour.io. So we set up in our Contour DNS, that's just results in localhost, that DNS name. So when you're using kind, if you expose port 80 from your kind cluster, you can use now a DNS name which points to localhost to help just make things easier. Yeah.
But I don't want to destroy my kind cluster.
Right. No, I'm saying, yeah, just that's what that does. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work probably because of the port?
No, because you don't have any service pointing to it, is my assumption.
Okay,
so
maybe
there's nowhere to route to. You're getting
okay, because maybe this is because of like it's pointing to the Quard, but this gateway is running on Project Contour namespace and not on the default namespace, right? And we have in the gateway where is it? Here, yeah, namespace from same.
Yeah, we could change that. You could deploy the route in the default namespace if you want.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, hey, what I did? Come on. Gateway, what was the name?
It's Contour, I think, in Project Contour.
Yeah. So I want to deploy this instead in default. And gateway class name is example, port 80. Port 80, is this right? Even if I pass port 8080 or not?
Yeah, because Envoy is listening on 80, but your port forward is change the from same to be from all.
From all.
Yeah, so this will let you bind a route from a different namespace.
Okay. Oh, so should I edit this instead of just because I'm not editing? I'm creating a new gateway, but in default namespace.
But you can't have another gateway. You can only have one.
See, I was almost doing something wrong. You should let me do something wrong.
No,
say,
you can leave the. I'm saying leave the gate. Excuse me, leave the gateway. Oh, you're just gonna edit it. Okay, I see what you mean.
yeah.
I thought you were just
Okay.
gonna apply that back again. But no, I see what you're doing. Yeah, sorry.
All?
Yep. Yeah, and then just create your route now.
It's already
default.
created.
But it's in the project contour namespace, I think.
Ah, got it.
Yeah. So you could. Yep.
Okay, just change the default, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Should I change the host name as well? Maybe, right?
Yeah, if you want.
Because we have the other one.
That's true. Yeah.
Let's not try to.
So we haven't implemented that yet, but that's a conflict, right? So that was the classic Ingress example of two routes with the same host, with the same path. What do you do? The canonical way to solve that in Gateway API is whoever got there first wins. So the oldest created version would always win.
Okay.
Contour hasn't implemented that yet, but that's how you'd solve that. In our CRD, we solve it a different way, but yeah.
But I got that not found again. Why?
I don't know. Edit the gateway again and just take off that selector. That I'm willing to bet actually you could do this real quick. Status the route. That will tell us what's going on. If it's waiting, then it didn't get picked up.
There is no status.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means that whatever's watching the route hasn't seen it yet.
Even in the other one, which is probably in the right place.
Yeah, change that.
What if you delete the contour server and let it come back up? Will it fix it?
No, that shouldn't do it. Edit your gateway again and trash the that selector. I think that selector shouldn't be there because it's doing both. It's saying, hey, it can only bind to routes from all namespaces that also match this selector. Well, leave the one you had on there.
I would
Undo.
entirely
Only the selector?
status though. Yeah.
I want to leave what you had, but delete the selector. Can you undo?
Okay.
Do you use Oh My Vim, Ricardo?
There you go.
What is that plugin with the underline?
I don't know. I downloaded it from someone. Okay, now we have status. But this is on the project contour. Let me open on the default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Now it's valid. But the other one, if you read it said it had resolved refs issue, meaning it couldn't find the service, and that told you what was wrong, which is cool. If you status the old one, yeah. Now this should work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, now that's working. Cool. Yeah, cool. Great. So we are almost 1 hour and 20, and we could see Contour and doing some gateway API stuff, right? So Jay, do you wanna have where you succeeded with Windows stuff?
It looks like it. I think it. I never got it. I mean, it didn't work because it looks like it was it couldn't pull images, and then I'm not sure why it couldn't pull the images, but I think it was trying to. There's definitely a Windows specific configuration that you have to set Contour up with that I didn't do. It looks like out of the box, it doesn't know how to schedule to Windows and Linux nodes. So maybe I'll file an issue, or if there's somebody already working on that, just let me know, Steve. And
yeah, we have a parent issue to talk about Windows support, but
yeah,
I'm not sure that we have fully baked that out yet to see that if that even works. So
Contour on Windows, I see that. Yeah, we need to add some details there. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, so today was pretty intensive, right? So I don't think we are gonna. Do you wanna take a look into HAProxy in Nginx, I think it's
so
probably folks, they are like a bit tired. And we have Per here waiting to rant about SCTP. Hi, Per.
Per, why don't you just give us your rant about SCTP?
No, I don't want to give a rant on SCTP.
Oh, come on.
It's a different level. Oh, I have not. I just don't think SCTP fits the model with the microservices, because it's normally more used like tunnels between two nodes, and then there is protocol signaling to figure out what happens if you lose one endpoint and so on. And if you try to build a prox for that, it doesn't really fit well.
Can you pull up a diagram of the whole SCTP thing for folks, Ricardo, while we talk through this?
So I'm all with Lars there, so that there's applications that need it, and sort of.
Where is it?
I don't
Just
know. Yes.
Wikipedia
I think he has to
SCTP, they have a good
Okay.
Yeah, they have a diagram
English
of,
one,
of
right?
that tunnel that he's talking about in there, I think. Maybe not. Yeah, I think. No, go back.
Yeah.
Is that it?
So
Yeah.
it's a complex protocol. It's doing more than just normal. What you get with TCP, for instance, where you have a connection and you know it's between two endpoints. It's easy to load balance it and easy to scale. And if you look at the HAProxy, to me, it's a scaling element. It's
So first, Per, what's the difference between SCTP and TCP at the most stupid level? So we have a pretty large audience here, so let's start from the basics, right?
Okay, back up. In telco, there is something called Signaling Protocol 7. That's how all all telephony networks were built using SS7, and they're still widely used. And it's sort of packet oriented, but with resend, you can say. So 3GPP, which is the standardization organization for mobile telephony, so 3G, 4G, 5G, and 6G, and so on, is being worked on there. They wanted to have a protocol that had sort of a mix of what they had in SS7 and UDP. Because TCP is a stream, right? You have to read it, and then you have to frame everything that's in there. Whereas with a packet-oriented, you get the message, and it has a format. So that's what they wanted to do. And instead of doing something like quick, sort of, or something simpler, UDP with retransmit, they came up with this protocol that's where they tried to do what was done with SS7, and that is by having dedicated networks and dedicated paths. So typically give each endpoint 2 IP addresses on 2 different interfaces, and then it's assumed that these will then guarantee delivery over different infrastructure. So if someone picks up a fiber, you will still have a dedicated path, which with IP is very hard to guarantee because at some point these things will go to the same routing stack or routing context, you can say, and the packets get treated the same way. And then you have, at the application levels, means to steer sort of which path things should take on. So it's a very specific usage normally of the protocol when you use these dual endpoints and the semantics that comes with it. And like I said, it has typically been used with fixed ports on both sides. So you set up connection between 2 nodes, and then you can almost call it application-specific load balancing when load balancing, or not load balancing, but distribute the streams inside this connection.
So when you say I have 2 things, like I got 2 NICs.
Yeah, so you would
I got 2 NICs. I got
you would tie your process to use both NICs, and then you would expect them sort of that you had inserted specific routes into your application, so it would choose the right path based on which address you're using for the other side. So it doesn't just have a default route that sends it down, but very specific routing, or connected to a kernel.
Can we draw it, Ricardo? How about we try to draw this? So, okay, I'm gonna delete the sticky session thing. Look, I'm getting rid of it all. Let's see if we can Sesame Street this. Okay, I got this over here, and I got this one over here. And okay, when I have a TCP connection, I usually have 1 NIC, and I have a NIC over here. And this NIC has IP 1.2.3 .4, and this NIC has 1.2.3.5. And I go here, and I have a ACK, and I have a SYN, and I have an ACK, and these, they just talk to each other, and they just talk over the same interface. That's what I'm used to, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could add a second interface if you wanted and have another connection specific, right? So
yeah, I could have another one.
Yeah. So
but let's take the SCTP example. So now I'm going to do, in purple, I'm going to have 2 NICs.
Yeah.
All right. Now what do I do?
Another box, 2 NICs, and then you have one association that's using both these interfaces.
Okay. And it's the same IP?
No, they have different IPs.
Okay, so different IP. I think I asked Ricardo on Twitter whether it's possible to have the same IP for 2 interfaces the other day, and he didn't give me a clear answer.
You've asked Antonio, actually.
What you typically do is that you put at the interface, that you put it on the loopback, and then you route through the specific interfaces. That's
everything through the same thing. Yeah.
Well, you can take it in either way, and then you
all right.
find to So now you have.
So now what? What do I do? So I've got TCP. So this is TCP up here. So what is my SCTP?
Then can you just draw a big what's the color you used over all these interfaces?
Okay, let's make it different color, and Ricardo, what color you want me to use? Green for SCTP?
Take the green now and draw.
You'll use puke green for SCTP.
Yeah, so draw one green line between each sort of pair of NICs.
Okay. So I go from here to here, and then what do I do?
Do the same at the bottom.
Okay.
And then sort of you draw a box around all that, because the same association or a session uses...
A box around these green lines?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that's sort of what defines your connection, so to speak.
Okay. So
you can do similar things with TCP, with multipath TCP, but let's leave that for another discussion. So now you have two sort of, the idea is then that you have 2 paths that these 2 end nodes can talk to each other. But in reality, you have a packet network here in the middle. So there's nothing that guarantees that they're going to separate paths, I mean, separate routers and separate switches and so on. At some point, typically, it goes together.
So this can go now. So one packet.
So that's the reality of
just one. So one packet gets, like, the first time it gets transmitted, it might go this route. The next time it might go this route.
They try to just do this straight pipe, actually. But I mean, so they do this to have redundancy and resiliency. They sort of that you're trying to assume that you have, think of as 2 logical wires. And that's how SS7 works. But with packet networks, it's very hard to guarantee that your logical wires doesn't pass through the same infrastructure.
Yeah, so it winds up being, okay.
And the sort of you can use things then like new tools like SRv6, which is segment routing for v6, to rather specify in the packet the paths it has to go through. So I could sort of take a packet and say it has to go through this router, and this router, so that you traffic engineer the path it's going to take through the network. Then you can actually build something like this. But the problem we have with Kubernetes is that this is used as a tunnel. So if you think that when you look at when you, in order to scale or load balancing something, you want to have something that can vary. So if you look at the typical 5 tuples, so you will have.
I mean, I guess what we didn't put in here is we didn't put hops. So this doesn't really make sense without hops, right?
But you know, when you load balance, you have a destination address, you have the destination port, or you can say destination address and source address.
Yeah.
Then you have a protocol, and then you have destination port and source port. Sure. And in order for something to load balance, you need to have that the session or a connection is unique. So this 5 tuple needs to be unique. But if all of them are fixed, you can only have one. So if you lock down all these variables, then you can only have one connection. So for something like the service proxy to work, you only lock down 4 of them: the source destination address, protocol, destination port, and then you typically have a fixed source address from the node you're coming, but then the source port will change. The IP stack on the machine where you set up the connection for will look and ensure that from this machine this is unique. And then on the other side, you check again in the stack, is this unique? Yes, it is. Then you can load balance that. You can use NAT or whatever, and that's what we do today. So the whole idea
Jay,
is that...
Go ahead, Per.
No, you go.
No, I was going to say that Jay made us go from layer 7 to layer 2. I'm just kidding.
This is sort of layer 3 and the internal.
Where did it?
You want us to let's talk SCTP. I don't really particularly want it. I don't think it fits well with Kubernetes SCTP.
You started off the morning talking about how much you didn't like SCTP, and then you end the night explaining it to the whole world.
So the this is a bad explanation on top, but the HAProxy is not the right place to do it. And I think that's what Lars is trying to say as well, sort of that we need to have a way, and that's why Kaping is good, right? Because you can do the sort of the...
So basically what you're saying is that we should just put a big sad face over this whole picture.
So that you should... someone that really needs this should write his own backend. So you should be able to do the specifications using Kaping, but then someone like Ericsson or whoever you are, write your own sort of service proxy for SCTP.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
That's how you feel right now.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Jay.
Can you make a T-shirt out of it now?
Screenshot this right now.
Okay.
Hold on.
But I mean, if we're going to talk protocols that's interesting, I mean, we had in what Steve was talking about, Envoy. Envoy can handle Quick. It can handle it pretty well. But if you look on Kubernetes, there is no support for Quick at sort of the HAProxy level. Should there be or should there not? And in that case, how? And how will it tie up to the things you can do in Envoy? And the backside of every load balancer sort of is that it also works as a blocking firewall for ports that are not defined. So should there be a path between things you define in Envoy and network policies and vice versa?
I feel like SCTP was some kind of like appendix or something, or what do you call it? It feels like it was something that might have been useful at some time, and then
I'm not gonna. This is recorded, so I'm not gonna be.
Yeah, let's be careful about that.
I don't understand it well enough to have an opinion. I'm just saying from the way you describe it.
Filled a clear requirement for telco companies when they went from circuit-based networks to try to run the phone calls and all this over a packet-based network. So that's sort of what SCTP came from. So in one way, I would say it's something that's used for technology shift. So it was used in that technology shift and is still used. Will telco be able to use other protocols when moving in the future, like Quick, so that we can just have one protocol that we use both for web and telco signaling? Perhaps.
Okay. Now I can get rid of my little sad man.
No.
Yeah. I took a screenshot of that. Okay, so Jay, I guess we are here like 1 hour and a half. I don't know. Alex is saying that SCTP is more than just that. So I would invite Alex maybe to join us on the Kaping meetings and discuss about that with HAProxy, right?
Alex, you should definitely come. We meet every Friday, and the context for this is that we're kind of working on porting some code from the original HAProxy, the existing one, into Kaping, which is a little more pluggable, or a lot more pluggable. And so Per came today and he was talking about SCTP and someone else who was working on SCTP, and a lot of concern and questions about what's the actual use case in Kubernetes for SCTP. And that's we're joking around here, but that's kind of the serious sort of roots of this conversation. So every Friday we meet, and we're on the Kubernetes SIGs. You're come join us and hang out. Yeah.
And I mean, just to be clear, there's no one that says that SCTP is not needed. The question is, how is it best supported and integrated into a Kubernetes sort of based solution? It's not about that. I mean, there's a lot of applications that use it, right? But I just don't think that the support is where it needs to be. And I don't think sort of the traditional way of just adding in another protocol, you think it's just the same thing. I mean, SCTP, TCP, UDP are very different protocols, and SCTP is hard to manage the same way as we do SCTP, as TCP, especially the use case has been used for. You can probably find specific use cases that works, but not the generic.
Yeah. I'll give you the link now, Alex. Are you in
maybe Alex can join us on Kubernetes Slack and ping you or ping me? How does that sound?
Join us on Kubernetes Slack, and then our HAProxy clean. I'll put the link to our Google Doc in here.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna check LinkedIn. I think that's also a good way to connect.
Yeah. Where did we go? Here we are. StreamYard. There it is. Okay, cool. I'm putting the link in YouTube right now, Alex. And so it's the HAProxy working group. So you can go to Kubernetes SIG Network. You can just Google for Kubernetes SIG Network on GitHub, and you can see all of the meetings that we have. And one of them is specifically this group, and we meet every Friday morning. So yeah, come hang out.
Yeah, morning depending on where you are. It's lunchtime when they meet here, and I need to skip my lunch to join them. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, folks. So I think that we can end for today, right? Is everybody okay with that? Okay, cool. So thank you, Per. Thank you, Steve, for the contribution and helping me and Jay not going too deep on the wrong path of stuffs.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Breaking counter.
Thanks a lot, Per.
Counter live.
Thanks, Steve and Per, for joining us, and obviously Ricardo for doing this whole thing. This is really cool.
Yeah, and hope we can see you all on the next TGIK. See ya, folks.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.
Are we on the